Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of Purple Insider. Matthew Coller here, and joining me is Cody Alexander. He is a football coach, an author, a podcaster, everything football from matchquarters.com, a premier defensive analyst, I would call you. Cody, great to have you doing this look at Ivan Pace Jr. and what went right within Brian Flores' defense to shut out the Las Vegas Raiders. Thanks for being here. Did you enjoy watching Ivan Pace Jr. tape?
That's right. Yeah. I look, I watch the Vikings every week. I think what they're doing right now is completely different. So I'm always into the weird stuff that happens every year. There's always something new. The Vikings this year happen to be the outliers in what they're doing. No one else is really doing what they're doing. So anytime I can watch the Vikings, I'm game.
Well, we're going to talk about some of the creative things that are happening here around Ivan Pace Jr. and what has allowed him to succeed in taking over for Jordan Hicks, and was the highest graded PFF linebacker this week. No surprise to anybody who watched the game, but let's dive into exactly why that is. So I tried to pull a bunch of clips here that showed different things that Ivan Pace Jr. is doing within this defense and what has made him succeed. And I started out with a play where he's just running deep into the center of the field. And what I really enjoy about Brian Flores' defense here, Cody, is that Ivan can line up just about anywhere, either side of the formation. Sometimes we see him at edge rusher. Sometimes we see him, like on this play, looking like the quarterback has to maybe factor for him blitzing, and instead he ends up 20 yards down the field. So explain to me what is happening here, because it seems to have really thrown off Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, and it results in a negative play for the Raiders.
Yeah, so if you've watched the Vikings at all, which if you're listening to, you probably have, you are used to seeing a lot of men around the line of scrimmage, and they're playing. Here we have a 2x2 set. It looks like they're going to be playing their what they call hot quarters, which is where you get all these guys online. You're going to get a six-man rush, and then the secondary is really kind of playing kind of a pseudo kind of man zone concept here. What you get post snap though is a Tampa 2. In fact, the Vikings are running cover 2, I think at the highest rate in the NFL, and it's because they're running these Tampa 2s off of their hot quarters looks. So Pace is actually is going to run through the middle of the field. He's the pole runner. So if you were to draw this up, you're actually getting two triangles outside, two cover 2 triangles outside. It looks like there's a lot of space in the middle of the field, and that's where he's closing. So he's actually in charge of the vertical. Once he gets to about 15 yards, he's going to zone up and then read the quarterback. The pressure here is a simulated pressure. So we're simulating a lot of people on the line. And then once the ball is snapped, only 4 of them are going to rush. So we're going to attack the back, which the back does a good job. But because of the coverage rotation, O'Connell holds the ball, and he eventually ends up getting sacked. So this is a good example of you usually put your faster linebacker as the pole runner, and so this kind of shows his coverage ability in that way.
How often do we see that in today's game? Because I feel like there was a big conversation about Tampa 2 and then teams beating it with underneath routes and things like this. But the Vikings have been doing this with their linebacker from time to time, and it seems to be like a difficult thing for quarterbacks to identify that it's going to happen pre-snap, and also takes away that tight end where O'Connell looked to me like he wanted to throw the football, and instead he ends up having to take a sack because of it.
Yeah, so because of it, there's a reason why that they run so much cover 2, and it's really not a lot. I say so much. It's really not a lot. It's really a changeup. So think about a pitcher who has a really nice fastball. It's amplified. That fastball is amplified when you can throw an off-speed pitch, right? So what Flores is doing is essentially hitting the offense with an off-speed pitch, is that we are throwing fastballs at you on every single down. In fact, their early down blitz rate is well over 60%. Even though that their blitz rate over time this year has actually fallen under 66%. I think it's sitting right around 56%. Their early down, so first and second down, is actually above 60%. So when these offensive coordinators and these quarterbacks get to the line, even on a third down, they don't really know what's going to come. So you use this as an off-speed pitch, in a sense, to throw the defense off.
Yeah, I think this one really demonstrates how confused quarterbacks have been with Brian Flores and Ivan Pace's role within that. Now let's look where he makes a tackle. And this is a different coverage that he drops back into, but he identifies instantly where the quarterback is going with the football and then makes an all-out tackle. And I really like, and we'll see more examples of this, how he's able to process so quickly. It seems like as soon as the quarterback starts to go somewhere with the football, he is there. And also the reckless abandon in which this man plays football with. And you could see it here. It's just an all-out dive to make this tackle on Davante Adams, but a very different look from what we were just seeing.
Right. So this is a 3rd and long, like 3rd and forever look right here. So instead of having Pace run the pole, they're actually going to put the safety in it. I call this 2-hole, which tells the safety you're going to be the hole player. You're going to be the pole runner. It allows an athlete, not saying that Pace is an athlete, but it allows a DB who's used to carrying verticals to actually be the pole runner. So he's actually going to carry the vertical. In terms of coverage, this is the identical coverage to what we had earlier. We're just, think of it, X's on a whiteboard. We're just putting people in different places. You're getting a 3-by-1, so he's going to actually hang in the middle of the field because he's actually going to try and it's drop 8, so he's literally the low hole player on the ball, whereas Smith is going to stack him high. So he's actually an extra zone player. He's a free player, and he's going to read the quarterback here. He sees that the quarterback turns to Adams, and then he quickly picks it up. This is a great open field tackle, getting the ankle and then getting him down.
Now, I know situationally it makes a lot of sense on this particular play to drop 8, but the Vikings have done it more than any other team in the NFL. And you could see where that would be a little bit dicey potentially if you're giving quarterbacks time to throw. Why has it been able to succeed for them?
Again, it goes back to when are they using it? When you use it on these long 3rd downs, remember these routes have to go vertically to get towards the sticks. This is on the Raiders side of the field. So they're not even really in field goal range. So they have to try and get this. So if they're going to run the ball, you aren't just flowing a bunch of guys vertically. Your middle linebacker is not running. In fact, what you're doing here is you're keeping him low in the box. So if they do run a draw, you have linebackers, you have zone eyes on the box at the same time. So you know that these routes are going to go long. What you want the quarterback to do is exactly what happened here, and that is throw the ball low in the zone. Everybody will then rally to it because everybody's got zone eyes. You're adding an extra element. So if the quarterback wants to scramble, if the ball is actually thrown low in the zone, now you have an extra guy who's seeing it unblocked and can now run to the ball.
Let's take a look at another example of Ivan Pace and how he's able to succeed at his size, because clearly his production at Cincinnati, this was a guy who, if he's 3 or 4 inches taller, is being drafted, I think, in the middle rounds, if not even higher than that. But he is the shortest linebacker in the entire NFL. So you wonder, okay, well, how does he succeed? And this run play, is run stop by him, is a great example of how he's able to succeed, being quick, being crafty. And something that coaches say about him is, he's always been this short. So it's not like he had to make some sort of adjustment to being short. But we see him basically an Olay here with a charging offensive lineman, and then he makes the play on the football. This to me was very impressive, but also sort of shows you how this guy is able to get it done.
Yeah, it's using your weakness as a strength. Like you said, short guys, short arms, you can't let people into your body. So you have to be able to dip and rip. You have to be able to adjust to blocking. You have to be able to keep your vision. Even though he's attacking his primary gap, he's looking at the running back. He understands that, okay, I'm getting over pursued by the right guard. I'm going to swim back, and then I'm going to attack the running back. Here's the thing that he had to do at Cincinnati in that hybrid scheme is that, and it really shows the multiplicity of what he can do. And it's highlighted by how he played in college. In that system, he had to play what would be like a flex tackle, meaning that he had to line up in a B gap. He'd have to play near a guard. He would have to kind of be able to read the mesh while also keeping bigger bodies off of him. Then he has to be able to play off the ball as a regular linebacker, which is what this play is showing you. He's off the ball, he's attacking a gap, then he's redirecting. And then we saw earlier being able to play low in coverage in zone and then high in coverage in zone. And so it really, in that hybrid kind of odd stack 3-high system that Cincinnati kind of has become famous for alongside Iowa State, is that you have to wear multiple hats, and the more hats that you wear, and the better. It's kind of like jack of all trades, but a master of none. Yeah, that is a concept. But when you have multiple tools in your toolbox that you can use, you get dynamic players. And then when you add in, kind of supercharge that with kind of that intelligence that he shows within playing, this is kind of what you get.
And I also see here a fearlessness from him that is harder to achieve than you think. I mean, because, you got an offensive lineman that's massive, that is looking to throw you 20 yards in the air on that play. That is come downhill, crush the linebacker, drive him back, keep driving him. And yet it's almost like the game looks a little bit slower to him, like in a good way. Like, he is so quick, his mind processes fast, and then he plays so aggressive that looks easy, but that guy's actually coming at you really fast and really hard. And then to make the tackle as well is a great play. So that kind of highlights some of his skill set. But the play of the day, of course, is the interception to put a bow on this game. And what I really like in looking at the film from up top, that you might not necessarily recognize as I was at the game or on television, it's harder to see things like this, is that Ivan Pace lines up on the quarterback's right side of the formation. Aiden O'Connell reads that he's got a man-to-man coverage with Davante Adams, which is usually a win. And then suddenly he doesn't, because Pace Jr. comes all the way across and reads that route. And after the game, Pace Jr. told us that he knew exactly what route was going to happen, and he jumped in. So what do you see here on his game-sealing interception?
Yeah, so this is actually, I would argue, this is probably the Vikings' this is probably their favorite simulated pressure, where they bring Smith off the edge. You get a switch call on this, meaning that the defensive end is going to go vertical, and Smith is now going to attack the B gap inside, and he actually goes against the running back here. So Pace, he's aligned opposite, and he's going to sling with vision, right? And so you can see him keep his eye on the quarterback the entire time. He checks to see Davante Adams. Okay, he knows he gets an inside release. So I think of it, the shadow of the receiver is blocking the corner, meaning I know it's an inside release, so I know I'm probably going to get some sort of a dig or a slant. He sees that O'Connell sets up, and so that's when he sets up, and he actually, I call this a basketball. He actually pivots back to block Adams, and that's where he's able to get the interception. This really shows just kind of that intelligence that you talked about, of being able to kind of recognize where this play is going. O'Connell at the snap sees pressure. A lot of quarterbacks, they want to throw into pressure. Well, when you have somebody cutting into that zone, which is what you get here in this Tampa 2, you actually are going to counter that hole. And so that's where he ends up playing basketball right there and getting this pick. This is a great play by him, by the way.
It is. The interception at the end can't be overstated either. I mean, this is a full dive, wide receiver type of grab that he has to make on this play. And I think that what Flores has done really well is understand where the quarterback is going to be taught to look if there is pressure, if there is a rusher. But on this play, there's only one receiver to that side. So if the quarterback drops back and his eyes are on that side, I mean, I think Pace has an ability to see a lot of things at once. It feels like he understands where everything's moving, but also seeing where the receiver is coming with where the quarterback's eyes are, dropping into his spot. I mean, there's just a lot going on for a linebacker. There's a reason that very few of them grade very high by PFF, and he's the highest graded rookie linebacker in the entire league. Just on a global perspective, Cody, how impressive is it to you that he could take on the green dot duties with Jordan Hicks out and be a significant difference maker as a guy who went undrafted and is in his first year playing?
Yeah, and again, you go back to the beginning and talk about his height. I think the NFL is so obsessed with measurables. You do have guys like this, though, that can succeed when they do get their opportunity to. And he is constantly around the ball. You can see how he moves around in zone. You can see that he can play near the line of scrimmage. And I think it goes back to what he did in college, in the system that he played in college. Like if you use kind of you take your, put your thinking cap on and really watch what he's doing. He did a lot of this stuff in college and had to do a lot of this stuff in college because he had to play near the line. He had guards in his face because they were in an odd front a lot of the time. So to me, having a guy, it's very impressive too for a rookie, especially an undrafted rookie, to not only step in, but be able to take the green dot dudes. It just shows you how smart he is. I think there's a misconception that NFL players or even just football players they're all muscle, not a lot of brain. I think anymore in the modern game, you have to be multiple in what you do defensively, whether that's coverage, fronts, pressures. You have to be multiple. Well, if you're going to be multiple, you got to be able to teach it. And then you also have to be able to retain it at the player level. So I think that there is a premium on intelligence that maybe has not been there before. Probably 20 years ago, it was, I need an A-gap plugger. I just need a guy that's going to go in there. I needed a physical freak will figure out everything. I think as the NFL moves away more and more from straight man coverage, I think that you see, again, that intelligence, being able to redirect that. And two, I think the physical intelligence, the kinetic intelligence of being able to move, understanding, like that pivot back into it. He didn't try and he could have easily gotten a penalty by running into the receiver and then trying to turn. But instead, he anticipates it. He moves back in. And by doing that, he actually is able to accelerate his movement and fall back into the ball. So it really shows some not only the intelligence of understanding scheme and where players are going to be, but also that physical intelligence of being able to move your body.
And his explanation after the game was he has that dog in him, which I agree. No, you're exactly right about the complexity of this thing. And you go across the Vikings board with Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, one of the most intelligent players of the last decade. I mean, there's a lot for Brian Flores to work with, and he has done so brilliantly. And there's no better example than Ivan Pace Jr. Cody Alexander, matchquarters.com. If you like defensive football, let me tell you, matchquarters.com is absolutely for you. There is nobody more knowledgeable when it comes to breaking down defense. So thanks so much, Cody. This was really fun taking a look at Flores' defense and Ivan Pace Jr. with you, and we'll do it again soon.
Yes, appreciate it.